Hello, everyone, and welcome to this part of the LCVP Academy. Here you find the guidelines regarding selection and allocation during recruitment, and I am Teresa. I am the MCVP TM of Isaac for Poland, and I'm going to be guiding you through this. So let's start. What is the content table of this booklet? This booklet includes some suggestions for you to do a selection and allocation, then some driving questions that you should always have in your mind, and the steps of the process of selection and allocation, and how to practically implement it, as well as what is the role of AI, MC, and LC in this process. So just a reminder before we start, selection and allocation is relevant for your operations because we need to make sure that the right profiles are being allocated in the right areas, and because the process as well shapes the new members that we will have in the organization. So here are some suggestions when it comes to selection and allocation. So first of all, train your recruiters to get an objective assessment, because you need people to know what they're doing and not just base themselves on the feelings that they have towards the candidate. Then base your selection on ISAC values and competences, because this is the bottom line for us to get more knowledge at the organization. Front office, and base your allocation on the functional personas, which are different from the recruitment personas. So keep this in mind. Identify the candidate's potential to take up back office functions in the future, because we will need also this kind of pipeline, of course. And finally, give feedback to all rejected and approved candidates and ensure a good candidate experience. So here's the driving questions that you should have in your mind when doing selection and allocation. So for yourself, the first thing is, do you have clarity on the recruitment's flow? Do you have clarity on the steps? Do you have clarity on the people involved, of the time required for the process? Do you have clarity on the reasons behind each step of the selection and allocation, and also on the tools that you should use? And then we move on to your team. Do you have a recruiting team that you can trust? Do they have a specific and clear JDs, and do they understand their personal contribution inside the team? But also, do they have clarity about the recruitment flow? Because not only you should have clarity about it. And finally, did you practically train them on how to implement it? They need this practical training, because otherwise, if they only have the theoretical knowledge, you might not ensure the best process to the candidates, or they may not know what they should do at the beginning. And finally, regarding your process, so do you know what kind of information you should get out of each step of the process? Are you collecting all the information necessary to understand whether or not the profile matches with the personas of the area? And also, are you basing your selection on ISAC values and competences? So here are the driving questions. Now we move on to some other questions that are, though, more towards the people that you're recruiting. So for your applicants, are you providing a recruitment process that is professional in the eyes of the applicants, both for the ones who you will select and the ones that you want? Are you considering the membership experience that they're going through? And this is something that you can consider thanks to the membership experience booklet as well. And are you passing an image of ISAC that is aligned on what they will experience actually in the organization? And finally, for the newbies that you're going to select, are you allocating them in the areas where they are not only have potential in, but that also, but you're also taking into consideration what they wish to develop inside the organization? Are you involving your EB in the allocation, and did you collect all the relevant information to match the personas and the applicants? All these questions, if you don't have clarity about some of them, then it's time for you to check how actually you are running this process, so that you can make sure that you're going to provide the best selection and allocation for your LC. Now, what are the steps to implement talent selection and allocation? Where we have first clarity about the selection flow, then we need to train the recruiters, then we need to understand how to do the selection, how to plug and play with the different elements that there may be in the selection process. Then we need to go on and do evaluation and allocation. So this is the moment in which you are actually selecting and allocating your members. And then we're going to go through feedbacks for the candidates that may or may not be accepted. And finally, we're going to take a look at the candidate experience that you're providing. So first of all, the selection flow. So the most important things to have here is that you most likely received instruction on how the selection flow should look like from your MCVP, but in case you didn't, these are some points for you to consider. So you should understand what are each of the elements, touch points that there should be in the selection flow, and who is responsible for them, what tools to use, how to prepare, and in the end, you should have all this in mind to make sure that your selection flow is very clear for you and your recruitment team. Then, and very, very, very important thing for you to know is that there is a shared folder for LCVP's TM, for sharing your knowledge, sharing GCPs. So if you have any GCP regarding your selection flow, or that you or your entity in general may be implementing, then share it in the folder. It's a great way to share some knowledge with the whole global network. But also, if you don't worry. You can approach the global network, and also you can check if in the folder there is anything that may help you. So here's the link. I hope that you're gonna check it out and that you're gonna use it in the future, because it's one of the most amazing things that we can have in such an international organization, to share the knowledge that we all have. Then the second step, let's go to it. You should train the recruiters. Why? Because you are not going to manage the whole flow alone, but you should have some people that are going to help you in this. So first of all, you should assign clear roles between them, so that the JDs are not overlapping and you don't forget about any part of the process. Then you should list the responsibilities on the flow. So a person may not just be responsible for one thing, but maybe the final responsible of a certain sub-process that is happening, and also contribute in other things that he's not final responsible of. For example, there you might have a person that is completely the final responsible of the interviews, but he's not, or she is not going to do all the interviews. So people also need to know that they have to contribute in making the interviews, but then the flow of the interview is not going to be designed by all of them, or the assignment of the different candidates to the people that need to interview them. So this is something that you need to make clear, and then train them to fulfill their job. You really need them to understand how to do it practically. So be as practical as possible. Make them try. Maybe make them try with each other the different parts of the process, so that they can understand how actually people would feel like, and how they feel, how much confident they feel in the selection process. So yes, this is regarding training the recruiters, and now we go to the selection element. So first of all, build your selection process. If it's not completely built by you, but it's maybe built from your MCVP, it's also fine. You just need to make sure that you are understanding what actually are the various elements that there could be in a selection process. So, for example, here are the most common elements that you can have in a selection process. So you have an ISAC info seminar, which basically explains to the candidates what are the things that ISEC stands for, what are the things that ISEC is working with, and what actually does it mean to be part of ISEC as a member. And then a group assessment to understand how people interact with each other, how which area maybe they could be allocated into or which team. Then a personal interview in which you understand better what is the potential of each candidate to develop and acquire competences and the LDQs, so the leadership qualities. And also it's the moment in which you assess the personal values of the candidate and if they are aligned with the organization or not. This is one of the most important things. If the candidate is not aligned with the values of the organization, then this is a bit red flag. Then we move on to the task-based assessment, and the task-based assessment basically makes you understand if your candidate would be a good allocation in a certain job inside the organization or not, so that you have an idea later on where you could allocate them. So this is for you to understand the elements, and we go to the core of what actually we are doing, so selecting and allocating our people. So first of all, we need to understand what we are looking for. And what are we looking for in ISEC? We are looking for people who show the potential to develop both the leadership qualities and the competences and functional skills present in the competence model, and people who are already able to demonstrate and live the ISEC values. We don't need people that necessarily are already able to do all the jobs inside the organization. This is not the point of it, but we need to make sure that the people that we are getting inside the organization are aligned with the ISEC values and that are able to actually go and demonstrate them, because we want people that are in the end similar when it comes to the alignment of values inside the organization, of course. Then what should we evaluate in the selection and allocation? So we should understand why we consider these aspects so important to be fundamental aspects assessed in all of the selection phases. This is what you should understand: the leadership qualities, the core competences, ISEC values, and functional skills, and their importance when it comes to making sure that people are getting in the organization and we're getting the right people. So we need people who will develop qualities faster than usual, because these people will facilitate the development of our EPs. Then we want people that are going to understand and develop the competences that are important for us to achieve actually the core business of our organization. Then we need people that are able to live the ISEC values, and we need people that have a general knowledge about the functional skills that we're looking for. They don't need to be experts. They don't need to know everything already, of course, but we need some people that may, if not have, at least may develop these things inside the organization. So now, another thing that we are going to talk about is also like what are the filters that we use through the process. So the first filter for us to select or not someone should be the core competences, leadership qualities, and ISEC values. The second filter should be the functional skills. And the third one is the LCVP endorsement. So whether or not the LCVP would like the people to join inside their areas. So this should be considered in this order. So you should not prioritize the endorsement over everything else. You should first of all make sure that the people that we're getting have have these capabilities, have the potential of developing the competences and leadership qualities, and are demonstrating the adhesive values. And then you go on to the rest. Then you should involve all the LCVP's operation in the allocation process so that they can endorse the members that are joining their departments. So it's something that is very important for you to conduct the allocation together with the whole EB. And even you can include some team leaders in understanding how to allocate the members. So yes, now we have some do's and don'ts of the evaluation and allocation so that you can understand also what are some common maybe mistakes that we make inside the organization when it comes to allocating the people. So when it comes to the selection, you need to make sure that the interview that you're making is not trying to reject people. So is not sort of aggressive towards the people, just trying to make sure that you find out what is the fault that the people may have, so you should not select them. No, this is not the point. We need to make sure that what we are actually thinking when we are doing the interview is how can this individual help the organization. And the second thing is, don't reject people based on the personas that are only meant to facilitate attraction. Example, if you have a persona that is based on the course of study of the person is attending and so on. No, this is not the point. The point for us in the end is to create diversity in every department of the organization, and the personas for attraction are only meant to facilitate you in that, not in the selection or not. And the third one is, don't focus on the things that are secondary to the selection when selecting the people or making the allocation. So focus on the things of primary importance, like time availability, and also when they're most available, if you have a certain department that requires a certain availability or not, and what is their motivation to be in ISEC. This is very important. And the development needs that they have, so that we can supply inside the organization, and as well the communication style that they have. These are the more important things that you should check, not only and not things of secondary importance, as for example their favorite football team or anything else that may not be important for this, or even if they already have necessarily all the knowledge regarding ISEC and so on. We are here trying to make sure that we are getting into the organization as many people as possible in the limits of them being aligned to the ISF values and to the things that we were saying before. Then we go to the fifth step, which is regarding the feedbacks. So first of all, design the template and the process that you want to use. You may have also here an example that you have from the national side, but not necessarily. So the thing that you should make sure of is what are the elements that you want to include in your template. And later on here you can read more about it, and also what is the way that you want to convey the feedback. So the feedback should use some certain elements, which are, for example, you explaining like why they were not selected, in the sense of why maybe they were not aligned to the values that we are trying to recruit inside the organization, and so on. But also, you should not just stop in giving them the feedback, but you need to upscale them. What does it mean? It means that you should have the possibility for them to develop maybe the values or to develop the qualities that you're looking for by going on exchange, for example, or doing something else that can help ISEC in a certain way and that can make them prepared to join the organization later on. So these are all things that you should include. So here you can see the flow that of how it looks like. So you have the first part, which is regarding scheduling, the phase two, which is the part of the phase two of the selection after passing the phase one of the selection. And if they're rejected, then go directly with the template and send them an email or call them directly. And then again, did they pass the phase two? Yes, no. And reject them in case through an email or a call. But then they should not just stop here. They should go to a feedback seminar to upscale, to make sure that they are doing something to improve themselves still. Because if they wanted to join this organization, most likely they are trying to find a way to develop themselves anyways. So this is the time that should take all of these phases so that you can understand. Now, what else? We're going to talk a little bit about the candidate experience. So first of all, what are the elements that are inside the candidate's experience? First, you have the ISEC info seminar, which is regarding what is ISEC and what are the things that a person would be doing inside the organization. Why is it important for why is it important for the candidate's experience? Because they need to understand what actually they are doing, but also it's important for them to relate to ISEC. If they've never seen it, maybe in the university, or if they have never actually interacted with someone or asked questions about it, then this is the moment in which they have the possibility to clear all their doubts. They have the possibility of getting engaged with the organization. And then embed ISEC culture. We don't want people to have a different image before they join ISEC and after they join ISEC, because we want to make sure that the culture that they are also seeing and that we're portraying during the process is aligned with what actually we are having inside the organization. And this is something that is very beautiful to make people see. So make sure that the kind of people that should strive to be in our organization are being portrayed also in the way that the people in your recruitment team, for example, are acting. So this means also the values that you're portraying, making sure that what people are doing during the process from ISEC side, so from your recruitment team side, are actually aligned with the values. And then care for your candidates. Make sure that regardless of the quality of the candidate, like whether the person in the end will be taken or not, and maybe you can already tell from the beginning, make sure that you're being professional nevertheless, because this is very important for one, the image that we're passing to the person, and to the image that that person may be portraying of ISEC later on to people that he or she knows. But also just, for the sake of being professional and being and living the ISEC values in the end. And then effective communication. Make sure that the people that you have in the recruitment team and that are in touch with the candidates are being actually effective in their communication, that they are the good communicators that you have in your LC, and so that you will not have problems when it comes to that. And finally, feedback seminar. So this is also part of the candidates experience. Make sure that they are understanding what they can do later on if they are not accepted. And finally, this is one important part. Consider the membership experience. And this is a booklet that you will find also later on, and here is linked. So what you should take into consideration is what are the biggest questions that people have in mind through the recruitment process. So empathize with them, understand what their point of view. This is something that is important, because in the end, the kind of process that you're delivering may also make them decide whether to actually join the organization or not, or may make them think of the organization in a certain way that then maybe is not aligned with what you're looking for. It sets the example of how you want the organization to be perceived. Then understand the challenges that they are facing in that moment in time and what their expectations are. And finally, what we need to deliver to satisfy their expectations, and what you want them to feel after the steps of the process is concluded. So yeah, check out the booklet. It's later on in the academies, but it's also going to help you a lot. Now we're going to quickly go through how to implement all these things. So we're going to have an example of selection flow, our recruiter sample JD, train the recruiters agenda, group assessment, task-based assessment, and personal interview templates. And then we're going to go to allocation, feedback email template, and we're going to close the space. So first of all, this is an example of selection flow that you may use. I will not go through all the phases because I think you can read them very clearly. And they're very simple. It's for you to understand what are the things that should be included. So talent attraction, application, first contact, what are the things that should be done? Contact the applicants in less than 10 hours, and anyways, not more than 48 hours, and so on. Then this is a sample JD for the recruiters that you may have at the local level. So, for example, marketing, the person responsible for first contact, the person responsible for selection, the person responsible for feedback. What are the KPIs of these people? What is the job description? Make them understand very clearly what they're going to be doing and how their JDs intersect maybe in some certain points. Then train the recruiter's agenda. How can you how can you train your recruitment team? The why of the recruitment. Make sure that they are understanding why they're doing what they're doing, and so on. The recruitment team, recruitment flow, talent attraction, first contact, selection, allocation, group assessment, plug and play, and feedback. You can play with this agenda, of course. It's just a suggestion. And later on, this is regarding the assessment. So how you can design the assessment. You need to make sure to then observe and discuss what is happening through the group assessment. And you have a template here also in which you can understand what are the things that a group assessment can include, and tips and tricks, so you can check it out. Then you have the task-based assessment. So you should design the task, assign the tasks, and analyze the results. And here you have some examples of tasks that you may be giving. So these are tasks, functional tasks. And you have, for example, for sales, prepare market research of all organizations that could cooperate with ISAC. So you already give them something practical to try, so you can understand if they would be fit for that role or not. So then we have the personal interview, which is another kind of thing that you may have inside the selection process, of course. So here you have an example of tool that you can use. And also you have the allocation tool here. You can try to understand if it's something that you would like to have, and you can ask also your MCVP if this is a tool that they would like you to use, so that you are aligned anyways with the whole entity. Finally, you have here an example of feedback email, and yes. So this is the last slide that I'm gonna be talking to you about. So what is the division of roles between selection, between AI, MC, and LC when it comes to selection and allocation? So AI's role is to support the entities with materials. MC roles is to actually design the recruitment flow, selection, and allocation tools, and educate the LCs on the process. And then you are the people that are actually executing it with the recruitment team. So you have to implement the selection allocation, you have the group assessment tasks, and provide feedbacks. So you are the people that are gonna be doing this. I want to tell you best of lucks with this. It's gonna be a journey, but it's gonna be amazing. And in the end, always remember to keep in mind why you're doing this and the wonderful things that are going to be happening once you finish your selection and allocation and you have new members inside your LC. Goodbye. Thank you.